049 always looked the same. A man dressed in black robes with a plague doctor's mask. But this wasn't a costume that could be taken off. In fact, it wasn't a costume at all.
It's just his face?
The robes had grown out of him like an exoskeleton.
Wood. Thank you.
That horrible mask.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to yet another spooky Sunday. Today, highly requested by chat and moderators, we'll be watching SCP Explained story and animation videos for the very first time. I actually know very little about SCP Foundation. We played 2 of the games for a little bit. I think I only got to complete the Descent one. I was not good enough to beat the Containment Breach one. We died a quadrigazillion times. Holy shit. So, hopefully, after today, I will have learned something or be very scared. Chat, are you ready for some SCP education with me today? Oh no, the sheep is on the loose. Dun 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 dun. Is there a sheep SCP, chat? I hope there's a sheep one. All of these were recommended by one of our wonderful moderators. So let's jump right into it. Hey! I think the first one is called The Shy Guy. Let's go.
By an SCP Foundation field agent. It's up to the Foundation's mobile task forces to tag and bag the impossible entities before they can do any more harm. Sometimes these retrievals are uneventful. Other
the
times,
music slaps.
Not so much. Especially when they're dealing with brutal forces of nature, like SCP-096. Also known as the Shy Guy.
The voiceover is pretty good.
The very first interaction with the Foundation had a reputation for being dangerous and needed.
They aren't real? I don't think they're real.
A series of vague sightings and mysterious disappearances up in the frosty mountains of the Yukon first sparked the Foundation's interest. When they were certain that they had an anomaly on their hands, 2 retrieval teams, Zulu 9A and Zulu 9B, were dispatched to secure and contain the entity.
So there's different levels of task force? And it's like an all over the world thing? This is not like an alien situation where they only land in America? Wait, they aren't real? I don't think they're... This is like a Reddit No Sleep kind of story, right? Where people are like, this sounds very real and it's set in real places. But I don't think it is. 096 be like, is it that scary? Are we starting with the scariest one? There are task force and special task force. So 2 levels?
Zulu 9A took the lead in a heavy-duty chopper, equipped with 50 caliber GAU-19 heavy machine guns, and carrying an AT-4 anti-tank launcher. They were prepared for anything, or so they thought, as they established a visual on SCP-096 while 2 clicks away from the target.
Oh, why is he naked? Wait a minute. Imagine being in a frosty mountain region and you're like, clothes, camouflage, nah. Task force is the army, special task force are special. Modified task force, for example, Ghostbusters is the thing dealing with ghosts and spirit SCPs. Oh, wait, that's cool as heck. So there are more specialized units too. I wonder how all of the different SCPs came about. So are people just writing them as like individual Wikipedia entries and making them that way? Anyone can write one, so we could make a sheep-related one. It gets added, people will just sort of judge/exempt. That's it? Wait, that's so cool. It's like internet-wide make-believe. You can write it, then people will check if it's a fit and make it canon. Make an SCP that is a sheep VTuber that acts as a mimetic fire.
I couldn't get a clear line of sight on the creature,
Me for real.
but it appeared to be stationary.
Oh, it's huge!
And was making no attempt to flee. Piece of cake, right? Little did they know that SCP-096 was just looking away from them. If it was facing towards them, it'd be a whole different horror story, as Zulu 9A were about to find out. The team landed their helicopter next to the creature, and were shocked to see that it was
it's like a smile dog situation?
In spite of the sub-zero temperatures all around them. The creature was unnaturally...
Wait. You guys remember yesterday's ghost video? Where it was that one long creature running towards the camera? Why does he look like that? SCP-42069.
As though it had been starved for weeks, with bone-white skin and unnaturally long limbs. The team guessed that the creature's arms must have been at least 1.5 meters long.
That guy's really tall?
Its docile nature and insubstantial
like individual or together? That's not very wide.
It wouldn't prove too difficult to contain. That is, until they saw its face. Zulu 9A's captain was the lone survivor of the incident. as he was lucky enough to be looking away when the creature turned towards his team. The rest of the squad ended up staring eye to eye with SCP-096.
Hey, Joe, welcome
From that
in.
moment on, it wasn't docile anymore. The creature began to whimper, then cry, then sob uncontrollably in a way that sounded eerily human.
It's
This
just an
sudden
old
change in
guy.
temperament startled the rest of Zulu 9A, and they opened fire on the creature. Under the hail of gunfire, SCP-096 entered a murderous frenzy and began tearing into the hapless squad of soldiers. While its flesh and organs did seem to take damage as a result of the barrage of 50 caliber rounds from the helicopter-mounted machine guns, its skeletal structure remained intact, and it continued its onslaught, tearing the team limb from limb.
Not the Thanksgiving turkey. Wait, hold up a minute. Why did y'all get scared? He was
Even
crying.
after they'd blown practically all the flesh.
He's a very shy guy.
The AT-4 anti-tank
Yeah, it's an
launcher
SCP
proved
video as
equally
requested.
ineffective at
Oh,
stopping SCP-096 while it was in attack mode. And it was only after slaughtering the entire team that it returned to its docile state. Nobody knows exactly what the creature did to Zulu 9A after the gunfire started, but no trace of the team was left behind.
Wait, didn't they say that the captain survived though?
Zulu 9B touched down soon after, and with a grave warning from the captain not to look at the creature's face, they were finally able to subdue it. A bag was placed over SCP-096's face, which seemed to soothe it enough to move it to a nearby Foundation facility. Little did they know, they
Bagged
just
him!
obtained one of the deadliest SCPs of all time. And while it may have been under lock and key for now, it
Give him
seemed
some
inevitable
pens,
that
please.
it would get
Give
out
him
and
some
cause
pens,
more
please.
violence and chaos. Research and containment procedures for the SCP-096 were put under the command of Dr. Dan, a senior researcher at the site. It was his job to find out exactly what this being was capable of, and the more he tested, the more he realized that they were dealing with something truly terrifying.
Okay, this seems like the worst job in the universe. Could you imagine you sign up for a job in science and then they put you in a little outfit and send you in to get eaten alive? That's... Hello? This is like the worst job ever. Like, I understand doing terrible jobs for money, but you're not gonna make it out. It's not a job. They're all death row inmate. Oh, that's dark. Wait, this is an orange uniform. Sorry, I'm colorblind. I thought this was pink. Hold up. So they are all prisoners? But that's not the answer either. Bro, that's so scary. This seems like a job where they contain VTubers. I would live at the SCP Foundation if they gave me my own room and Wi-Fi. Test me, I dare you. Only prisoners are the ones who test with the dangerous SCPs. Imagine being wrongfully convicted in this universe. That's so scary.
What it was that caused the creature to enter its attack mode. Just as it had during the initial retrieval mission, SCP-096
Just don't look at
went
him!
berserk when any of the attending personnel saw its face. In this stage, it would
Me
enter
when
a
people
period of
see me without
considerable
my
and
makeup on.
unstoppable distress for 1 to 2 minutes, covering its face and wailing loudly.
Oh.
When the period of distress ended, the creature would mercilessly slaughter every D-class that had seen its face, and just like with Zulu 9A, no trace of their bodies would be left behind. Dr. Den was horrified and intrigued by this phenomenon. The creature killed anyone that saw its face directly, but could the same be said for indirect depictions of the creature's face?
Okay, wait. I'm gonna guess no, because cameras are different. Would you rather work here for 1 day as D-class or work for FNAF for 1 week? Price of any of them is $100 million. I'm toppling the economy today at FNAF. You're probably not gonna survive working as D-class, right? They're gonna be like, we're forcing you to look at this guy's face. Good luck getting this integrated. However, my family would get mad life insurance money, so you know. I don't know. Working at Five Guys at Fredbear's, I think is easier. SCP Lilo, a digital mimetic virus that infects via its stream, spreading it to the audience. The subject initially merely becomes obsessive with the SCP, but as time progresses, they begin to physically mutate and resemble the SCP, until ultimately they begin trying to spread the virus through their own streams. VTuber virus sounds crazy. Wait, hold on. The Foundation has managed to quarantine the virus on a self-contained internet, although additional steps have to be taken to further isolate the SCP to reduce the risk of containment breach. Every day you wake up, chat, and you think about baba-buying or saying brrrr. It was me. And it's already too late.
Dr. Dan was desperate to find out. More D-class personnel were brought in to test this, to frightening results. Dr. Dan found that the creature did indeed still enter attack mode when people saw pictures and videos of SCP-096's face. The creature seemed to have an innate sense of when people were viewing these representations, even when it should have had no conceivable way of knowing. It didn't matter how far away or how many barriers were in place between the viewer and the creature, the attack mode would still activate.
But would it be able to leave? Like, if you look at its picture from far away, it can't get you, right? Or you just marked for life, and if it ever gets out, it's sojo over.
And once it did, it seemed as though nothing could stop the creature from hunting down the one who saw it.
If they show the real SCP
With
now,
all this new data,
we're all in
special
danger!
containment
Oh god,
procedures
chat,
were
no, cause
devised to
yeah!
keep the creature safely under lock and key.
Surely
Its
they
cell was a
wouldn't.
5 meter by 5
It
meter
can't
by
even if you
5
see a
meter
small
airtight
spot of the
steel
picture?
cube, fitted with advanced pressure sensors and laser detectors to ensure that SCP-096 remained
You can view a
itself
picture
without
anywhere and it will
risking anyone
stop
having
at
visual
nothing to get
contact
you.
with the creature's face.
Oh, that's
All
so
cameras and
scary.
video equipment
Please
were
don't show us
strictly
the
forbidden,
original.
and weekly checks for any cracks or holes in the containment cell were mandatory. Of course, none of this would stop the creature if anyone somehow saw its face. In order to
Jump
solve
scare
the
got me.
problem, Dr. Dan would need to continue his research. To find a method of subverting the creature's deadly glance, they needed to know exactly what they were dealing with. But how could they, when even a glance at a photo or video of the being meant certain death? A potential solution was proposed, creating an artistic representation of the
If somebody draws its portrait, will it Dorian Gray us all?
creature's face, something that hadn't yet been attempted. But how would they achieve
Lesbian
such a
fanfics
feat?
were just all
Simple.
weird
They'd
romance
procure
stories.
a D-class prisoner with some
Are they
artistic
not
talent.
still? It's the
And
only
they
ones
found
I
one
read.
who had been a tattoo artist before becoming a Foundation guinea pig. Dr. Dan formulated an ingenious plan for keeping this D-class alive for long enough to accurately draw an image of SCP-096's face. He would be placed in a bathysphere diving bell several kilometers underwater and tens of kilometers away from the containment cell where the SCP was being held. The D-class was made to look at a photograph of the creature's face and then replicate that image in a pencil sketch. Dr. Dan first confirmed that the creature's attack mode is only activated by the creature's face, by having the D-class look at a series of photos of the SCP's body parts, one by one, finally finishing with its face. The D-class began drawing and
In a
even remarked on how
submarine?
creepy the SCP's facial features were, despite not knowing the deadly context. Meanwhile, back in its containment cell,
Oh,
SCP-096 sensed someone viewing its
There's a
face
picture in the original
and entered its
Flash story, the
inconsolable
cheeky
crime
author.
state, followed by its attack mode.
Scary.
It broke out of containment easily and began making a beeline for the D-class,
Oh my
traversing the miles
god!
between it and its prey. The D-class didn't know it, as he locked the finished drawing into a separate, autonomous submersible, but he was already dead. As the drawing made its way up to a researcher on the surface, SCP-096 dived into the water and started swimming down towards the artist. Minutes later, the bathysphere was breached, and the D-class was torn to shreds. SCP-096 was recaptured without issue by surface.
Hold up. So it survived all of the water pressure
Recovery
too?
Team Foxtrot 303A, and further testing on the drawing showed that artistic representations of
That's
SCP-096's face were in fact harmless.
Oh, that thing
From this
breaking
experience,
out after
we
a
now
single
know that the
person and then
creature has a
live
gaunt face with totally
alive.
white eyes,
Newscast films it.
possibly indicating blindness and a grossly
God.
extended jaw. Nevertheless, Dr. Dan was adamant that SCP-096 was too dangerous to be left
He's
alive,
almost
and
immortal?
requested permission from the
Almost.
upper echelons of the Foundation to terminate the creature by any means necessary. However, the doctor's request would fall on deaf ears, until it all started with a seemingly innocent image. While it's now been redacted for your safety, the black speck
Phew!
inside the yellow circle was once a minuscule image of SCP-096, taken unknowingly in the 1990s by a semi-professional mountaineer. One day they were looking at old photographs when his eyes passed over the tiny speck without even noticing that he had seen anything. But SCP-096 noticed and began entering its attack mode. It tore through its steel
God!
containment unit like tissue paper, causing the release of a nerve agent that killed a number of attending Foundation staff. The monster then fled the base and began pursuing its prey, with Mobile Task Force Tau-1 in hot pursuit. Dr. Alexei, who was helping to manage the site where the SCP was contained, was in dismay over the situation.
Just don't take pictures anymore, Chad. It's too dangerous out there.
Dr. Dan was out of the
I've seen
country
the
at the
original
time,
picture. Mark,
trying
no!
to discover more about the creature's origins. However, he did leave the Mobile Task Force with a new secret weapon against the rampaging Shy Guy. Project Scramble. Scramble were state-of-the-art goggles featuring a new technology created by Dr. Dan, which, using artistic renditions of 096's facial features, could detect and scramble the features of SCP-096 into an unrecognizable form, preventing the normally deadly effect of gazing upon its face.
I love
In
science.
theory, this would allow MTF Tau-1 to engage safely with 096 once its prey had been eliminated and bring it back into
Oh,
containment.
rip that one high guy,
But
bro!
disaster struck on two fronts. First, the prey in question was located in a population center, creating the potential for a huge loss of life. And the second bigger problem was that the scramble technology didn't work, as stray pixels of the creature's face would reach the eyes of the task force before the internal microprocessor had time to scramble them.
Never
The
mind.
mission turned into a death sentence, as SCP-096 slaughtered almost the entire task force, as well as a number of civilians in town.
Oh, 'cause they looked at
including
it.
an infant and its entire family. It
No!
was a monumental disaster, made even worse by a final revelation. Dr. Dan and Dr. Alexei had themselves facilitated the entire containment breach and allowed the resulting massacre to happen, with Dr. Dan hoping it would be enough motivation for Foundation Command
the doctor
to greenlight
also
his
saw it,
research
right?
into destroying the creature.
Wait. Did the doctor not see it this entire time? Hold up. Ah, yes, that one pixel. Blah,
It
blah,
would give
blah.
him the opportunity to kill this thing would be worth the bloodshed.
Animal
His plan
Crossing
worked,
voiceover.
and the SCP Foundation saw it his way, approving his request to neutralize SCP-096. However, success comes at a cost for Dr. Dan. Once he figures out a way to finally kill the creature, though done in his line of duty, he himself will be terminated by the Foundation for his crimes against humanity. But considering how much damage SCP-096
Oh no,
is
he's in
capable of
London.
causing if it ever got to a major population center, or even worse, was ever caught on camera and broadcast to a worldwide audience, the doctor himself would likely deem his own death a justifiable cost. To this day, the Foundation is researching ways to kill the creature, and they're still looking for their silver bullet.
Wait, so what happened to the doctor? If Little saw the shy guy face if she was in that town? So, in reality, chat, I never keep eye contact, so I think I'm safe forever. Maybe he had working goggles. No one alive has seen the creature, otherwise would be attacking.
And the pressure is on.
Oh, that's
They hadn't known
scary.
about the seemingly innocent picture that sparked the last containment breach.
Oh my god, burn the
one taken
picture!
decades ago, in which the shy guy had only occupied 4 tiny pixels. 4 tiny pixels that resulted in multiple innocent lives lost.
Maybe he's
So
a
be
VTuber
careful
now,
where
we
you
would
look,
never know.
Because who knows how many other photos of the creature are lurking out there.
Oh god.
Photos with an innocent dot in the background. Your eyes glance over it, not even noticing the little blip, until you hear a distant wailing that seems to be getting closer and closer and closer. And then,
Final destination was
already
shy guy.
too
People
late.
saw him. That's so scary. What the heck? He's too shy for it. Now I know what kind of VTuber I want to be. The shy guy. One who determined it was only 4 pixels is also dead, right? I don't know. I like those a lot where it's like human curiosity is so big that it's like impossible to not look, right? Like if somebody gave me an envelope and they were like, the shy guy picture is in here. Will you look or not? I don't know. Maybe I'd wait until I'm like 100 years older, but I probably would. I would want to know. I'm curious now, chat. You can't just tell me that this exists and then not let me look. Okay, chat. Next one is 4049. Plague Doctor. We know this one from the video game, but I actually know very little about him. He just looked very hot in the video game.
the esteemed Dr. Thomas Morstead entered the cell.
I know the
for
animation
anomaly.
style is really cute.
He'd been warned and even chastised by his colleagues. But who in the Foundation could tell him what to do? He was the best at what he did. Maybe the greatest in the whole history of the Foundation.
Holy shit, let's go.
As he entered the room, SCP-049 bid him welcome, cordial as always. So polite, in fact, that you'd never guess you were talking to a killer. Dr. Morstead knew the truth of what he was dealing with, but he also believed he could get through to 049. Calm him, exorcise the devil from him. It was the meeting of 2 great minds, one of them human, one of them part human, part something that has never been clear. It was to be a battle of wits, and like
Wait, we
so
just
many
never
great
know?
things, this one would turn into a massacre. Before we get to that fateful meeting, there are some things you should know about the anomaly known
Not
as
brave.
SCP-049. If you saw him in the street, the first thing you'd think of is plague, because 049 always looked the same. A man dressed in black robes with a plague doctor's mask. But this wasn't a costume that could be taken off. In fact, it wasn't a costume at all.
It's just his face?
The robes had grown out of him like an exoskeleton.
Wood. Thank you.
That horrible mask with the pointed nose wasn't covering his face. It was his face. A kind of shell that had seemingly sprouted from bone. The first reports came during World War II.
The high IQ SCP too smart for me.
Called Montauban. People had begun going missing. Children disappeared from their beds in the middle of the night and weren't seen again. Adults went to the market and never returned. Local authorities searched high and low. They scoured nearby woods and dragged the rivers, but nothing was found. Because what was happening wasn't criminal. There was no clue they could stumble upon,
people. He's a chill
guy who would break the case. No, this was something else. Something that the townsfolk could never understand. Word spread, and that's when a search and discovery team was sent from the Foundation. It was a cold, dark night in January of
put on a hat, bro!
When the team found what they were looking for. They walked through the open door of a small house located not too far from the Grand Chateau de Richelieu to find a masked man sitting next to an open fire. And he wasn't alone. The floor around him looked like it was moving. Upon closer inspection, the team saw that the floor was covered with writhing, grasping bodies. It's patients, as it called them. Bienvenue chez moi, said the thing. Welcome to my home. Those so-called patients crawled towards the team, intent it seemed to cause harm. The hostiles, now known as SCP-049-2s, were deemed dangerous and had to be eliminated. A sight, it seemed, that didn't bother 049 in the slightest.
Is this like a brainwashing kind of thing? I always thought that, like, by the looks of it, if you, like, touch him, you die. Or something like that. I didn't know there was, like, more.
It just sat there, occasionally looking up from writing notes
like Dr.
in a leather
McZombie?
as his patients were gunned down. Once the carnage ended, it simply closed its book, stood up, and allowed itself to be escorted away. And that's the story of how 049 ended up at the facility, becoming a guest of sorts, staying in a standard secure humanoid containment cell, Research Sector 02, Site 19. The few that came into contact with 049 remarked that it was a pleasure for them. With its impeccable manners, vast knowledge of medicine and human anatomy,
I'm so glad he's polite.
They almost became spellbound listening to it, caught in the throes of its charms.
Do you drink from your teacup with the saucer on or off?
Until, with the simple touch of its hand, it would drain the life from them. That's why SCP-049 was classified as a Euclid. That's why armed guards were always stationed outside its cell. It's why doctors took great precautions.
Wait, is Euclid the highest class?
And it's why Dr. Morstead should have known better. Remember, when 049 was discovered in France, it willingly went with the team, like it was happy it had been found, as if it had planned its own capture. When it arrived at the facility, it didn't act like it was contained against its will. It was like it was returning home. Initial findings as to the biology of 049
well, I mean, tax-free home, free food,
not even water. It seemed content to be left alone with its
notebooks. Glued them together.
It did not object when it was asked if it could share some of its notes and gladly handed over its journals. But upon examination, it was discovered that they were written in the language that no linguist or cryptologist has so far been able to translate. It's apparent that 049
manuscript origin
much
story.
satisfaction from seeing so-called experts struggle over its text. Unable to read those notes, a long line of doctors visited 049 in its cell.
SCP moments, yeah! The saucer stays on during tea time. No, babe, the saucer stays on. Yes, Governor.
Has traveled the globe. It speaks many languages.
You're thinking to cure something?
Les langues de l'amour, French. It asked for only one thing: warm-blooded animals. The facility agreed to supply 049 with various kinds, including rabbits, cattle, and even an ape on one occasion. Just like with humans, it could kill the animals with a mere touch of its hand, sucking the life right out of them. But that wasn't even the most incredible part. Soon those animals would rise again, as if reanimated by 049. They would become, for all intents and purposes, the living dead. And they were hostile. After several unfortunate incidents, they were taken from the cell the moment they arose and disposed of in the incinerator. This was not to the liking of 049, who would claim it had cured the animals.
Do you think the pursuit is immortality? Do you think the cure is for death? Hence the Reaper outfit?
For it, the world was sick.
Are you sure about that?
perfect
saw plague and
timing.
pestilence everywhere, and the meaning of its existence was to rid the world of disease. Humans, it said, contained a virus and had to be cleansed. In the first days after arriving at the facility, 049 didn't seem to pose a threat to humans.
This is one
It
of the
was quite
biggest
friendly, in
theories?
fact. It
Really?
seemed aware of the fear it caused in staff, and would often go out of its way to make them feel comfortable and safe. This was a ruse, of course, or a canard, as 049 liked to say. It had no intention to help humans. No, it had come for humans. It wasn't trapped, it had set a trap. One of the first people to truly upset 049 was Dr. Raymond Ham.
So we are the virus? Oh, that's way scarier.
For the Nobel Prize for his more mainstream work. What had confused Dr. Ham the most was not 049's clothes-like exoskeleton, or even his ability to reanimate the dead, but the bag that it used. 049 was somehow able to pull a seemingly endless supply of surgical tools from that bag. Sometimes it would even pull out objects that were somehow larger than the bag itself. It was as if the bag connected to somewhere else. And that's what Dr. Ham wanted to talk about on that fateful day. With 049 on one side of the cell and Dr. Ham on the other, he asked, "How is it that you can produce a great quantity of tools from that bag? I've observed
Bag of
you,
holding?
and it seems to me that you are doing the impossible." "Dear doctor," replied 049, "the scourge, the great dying, cannot be fought with a handful of toys. My bag is merely the product of my imagination. It gives me what I require. You, dear sir, it seems, are limited by your imagination." It stopped for a second or two and stared at Dr. Ham. "I detect you are unwell," it said, in a voice not as amiable as before. "It's just a cold," said the doctor. "Ah, just a cold. If you had seen what I have seen, you would not utter such insulting words." Dr. Ham pulled out some papers from a briefcase and approached 049, holding them close enough so it could read them. "You see," said Dr. Ham, pointing to the results on the paper, "those animals you say you cured, they were not diseased. They were perfectly healthy before they died. And your so-called cure, it turned them into something quite terrible. We found that if they were left alone, they began to eat each other."
Sorry.
049 did not
Scary as
respond.
heck. What a Mary
After a
Poppins
brief
bag they
pause,
have,
said,
right?
"A good day to you, doctor. Please close the door on
In the
me.
play doctor's eyes,
You
we
should
are the
get some
virus?
rest." Ham refused to go, and instead turned the conversation to this real interest, the bag, demanding that 049 let him see inside of it. "Very well, doctor," 049 said. In private, 049 began to pull a series of long metal poles out of its bag, followed by a rolled-up curtain that it hung between them, creating a kind of medical tent around Dr. Ham. It seemed to stare for just a moment into the observation camera outside of itself.
Well, it's
before
the
whipping
infectious with
curtain
those
shut.
smiles.
Dr. Ham was
It's
discovered
welcome
3
in.
hours later, crawling around the floor of 049's cell, now another mindless undead. When he was retrieved by security, 049 didn't even look up from his notebook. Dr. Ham didn't get the incinerator treatment, but he did receive a fatal dose of drugs, a mercy. A removal team was sent to
What happened in that tent? A big whiff of sheep.
049's cell, but it had said there was no
Not
need
like
for
this.
special extraction techniques.
Hi, how are you
It would
doing?
go willingly, wherever they wanted to go. It was not, it said, an enemy of the people. "The Hippocratic Oath forbids me to hurt a human being," it said while walking to the interrogation center.
Okay, wait, chat, new theory. Hold on. What if that guy was actually sick? What if there is something that we can't see or detect at all, and only the plague doctor can? We will.
My only desire is to offer
Don't
you
I gotta
my
steal?
services and expertise. The floors and walls of the interrogation center room were painted a bright white. Even the table was white, which contrasted with 049, a mass of black sitting in the middle of the room. During the interrogation, it refused to admit or even accept that it had killed Dr. Ham. "I cured him. I removed the pestilence from his body," it said. It was later asked if it regretted
Another
its
very good
actions,
theory.
to which
I
it
find that one the
replied,
most plausible.
"No, good sir. One always
I just don't
regrets
think
the
he's
loss of
evil.
a colleague for any reason. But I stand by my actions. The pestilence must be abated before it is too late." Every 2 weeks from that point, 049 was given animals. The scientists at the facility observed it time and again, touching the animals, killing them, before producing a saw or scalpel and opening them up. Organs would be carefully removed with perfect precision. It was astounding to even trained surgeons just how talented 049 was. "I require a close relative."
I have a
of
theory.
yours,"
Go,
said
please tell us.
049 one day to a young doctor, who expressed shock that it was asked for one of the doctor's family members. "I mean a great ape," said 049. "Not your dear aunt." There were several instances of 049 displaying a crude sense of humor. Staff would almost forget that the thing that
Oh
they
no,
were
his stand-up
talking to
sucks.
wasn't human, almost.
Good
And it was
intentions,
Dr.
but
Thomas
delusional view.
Morstead that had supplied the great apes, orangutans in fact, that had been rescued from the rainforests of Borneo, only to be taken to 049's cell. Then one day something changed. 049 told Dr. Morstead that its work was done, that it accomplished what it had wanted to do, and could someone remove the cured animal from its cell? I think you'd find that it's quite the work of art. A triumph, 049 said through the intercom.
Will it be the same? Just corpse? Like zombie? Or
The removal team entered the
what?
cell.
Oh wait. Theory. What if the disease he tells you about is our consciousness? I think that makes us apart from other animals. Do animals not have consciousness?
Found the orangutan, or what was left of it. It was lying in the corner of the cell. The top of its skull had been removed, leaving its brain exposed. On its face was the expression of relaxation, and from its mouth it issued very soft squeaks, like that of an infant. 049 said, "Tell Dr. Morstead that its rage mechanism no longer exists. I've removed the amygdala and made some changes to the hypothalamus and limbic system. It is cured and quite harmless."
So anger was the disease? This entire time? What? Okay, wait, that's rough. As a sheep with anger issues, I don't think it's gonna work out. I'll smash a different monster. What?
Next day, Dr. Morstead announced that he wanted to visit 049's cell himself, after which he heard a chorus of disapproval from his colleagues, all telling him
Someone
that
cure me next,
049 was
Riot.
now too dangerous. Dr. Ham was sick, replied Morstead, and 049 has assured us that he would never take another human life. He's never lied to us, and I'm going to take him at his word. It appeared that 049 had created the perfect specimen, so what was next? Dr. Morstead had to know. Everyone is sick, 049 told Dr. Morstead after the two had talked for a couple of minutes. The great pandemic has started. Fear not, doctor. I have a cure. No longer will you humans spread your disease. I'm afraid you are wrong, replied the doctor. This pandemic you speak of does not exist. We can happily live with our pathogens. We have done so for millennia. Dr. Morstead became angry that he couldn't get through to 049. I'm afraid you are suffering from paranoia. It is you who need to be cured. You have no idea.
Oh shit! Free anger management though, right? For free.
Morstead. You promised you wouldn't hurt a human again. I'm not hurting you. I'm healing you, 049 said and leapt across the room in a flash, placing a hand on the doctor's head. Morstead slumped to the ground. They were being watched in the observation room, and this had gone too far. He had to be moved to the containment cells, permanently. Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 was right on the scene and burst through the door. No imagination, 049 said to himself. Those humans have no imagination at all. He began walking towards the task force, who opened fire on the anomaly, but the bullets bounced off its black coat and mask. SCP-049 calmly touched each of the members of the task force, one by one, draining the life from them. The last one standing stopped firing and attempted to run, but again 049 leapt across the room.
Sorry, the animation is so silly.
And gently touched the man, causing him to drop to the floor.
Should have used the rocket launcher, not like this.
049 stepped over the bodies of the fallen team and walked out of the containment cell.
Daylight saving ending just messed me up.
Are available only to the
Free jet lag without the traveling.
Sometimes called the overseers. The redacted report that is available reads: Standard Secure Humanoid Containment Cell, Research Sector 02, Site 19, Subject, SCP-049. Date of breach. Redacted.
Wait, so he's out there?
SCP-049 breached cell and subsequently gained access to a
He's out there, chat.
Joining rooms in nearby buildings. Breach lasted approximately 3 days and 5 hours. Total casualties, redacted, with redacted number of survivors requiring incineration therapy. Course of action. Department of Science Alchemy Division suggested injecting anti-transmogrify disinfectant into Class D former prisoners who were transported to site and allowed them to come into contact with SCP-049. SCP failed to reanimate injected prisoners and cure them. SCP-049 acknowledged this failure and surrendered to Mobile Task Force Alpha-1. SCP-049 then requested to be contained. Present containment under responsibility of redacted. Present location of SCP-049. Redacted.
That is brutal. What the heck? Okay, that one is scary as heck. Spoiler, didn't work. The survivors must have been cured, hence incineration therapy. No. 49 is friends with another SCP, the Mask. They have a history? Oh, sheep.
It's 3 a.m. and the facility is quiet.
Is this the same voice? This is a different voiceover guy. Next one is SCP-106. The old man escape? Old man? Ow, 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 ow.
Office
Mods really
workers
picked
and
the best ones
administrators roam
today.
the halls. Security officers stand at their posts, clad in advanced tactical armor and carrying standard-issue M4 carbines. 3 Foundation
Oh, it's a different narrator, the one who mainly narrates video on the Infographics YouTube channel. I knew the animation style from somewhere. Oh, so many numbers. What do you say?
employees sit at flickering monitors watching a live feed of footage from the containment cell of the infamous SCP-106, or as it's referred to by all staff, the Old Man. No Foundation personnel are permitted to travel within 60 feet of the cell for security reasons, and nobody is permitted to physically interact with the anomaly without the approval of 2/3 of O5 Command. The observer's eyes itch and sting from hours of unending blue light exposure, but they can't look away.
Wait, is this like a Weeping Angel scenario where this one you have to stare at versus the one we watched first? You can't look at? That is terrifying. How would you know which one to stare at and which one not to stare at? There's that one peanut-shaped one too, right? That you have to constantly keep eye contact with?
The Old Man is crafty. He might have the insatiable bloodlust of a hungry great white shark, but he's not mindless. He's a calculating predator, more sadistic than the worst human serial killer, and he's always searching for the next opportunity. According to the Foundation records, he's been active since at least World War II, and it's estimated that he has hundreds if not thousands of victims to his name, and many of those made simple but extremely foolish mistakes of underestimating him. After all, it only takes a few seconds of inattentiveness and the briefest moment of distraction to give him the window he needs. To do what, you ask? Oh, don't worry. You'll find out, just like they did. The Old Man has his...
Oh, that was a spooky laugh. What the heck? Funny prank idea. Take a picture of the Shy Guy's face. Duct tape it to the Peanut's face. Okay, but hear me out, chat. SCP versus what?
Nickname for a reason. Most
SCP
of the time,
versus
he really
what?
does look exactly like that. An old man.
I'm gonna
Or
say,
more
I would win
specifically,
against
an
none
old
of
man's
these.
decaying corpse. His body covered in rotten, dark, grayish-black flesh that looks like putrid meat. Though the creature has been observed being able to change shape, the rot seems to run too deep
watching
for
one of the
old man
SCP
to ever
stories?
hide it.
Yeah!
Foundation employees that have observed SCP-106 for extended periods of time have reported seeing it assume the form of grinning, decayed children and women whose rotted flesh barely hangs on their creaking bones. Just seeing the images through a video feed is enough to cause a lifetime of insomnia and other sleeping issues. Still, they have a job to do and the cameras remain fixed on the old man. He's been completely motionless for 3 months, just sitting there like a Buddhist monk in deep meditation. A novice might see this period of inactivity as a cause for celebration, but those with experience know that this is merely the calm before the storm. SCP-106 can remain in a dormant state for months at a time. Described by the Foundation scientists as a lulling state, it's believed that the old man is simply waiting for its captors to get soft, make a mistake, or simply have a momentary lapse in concentration, which is all it needs to make its move. It had happened so many times before, and it was about to happen again. One of the observers must have felt an overwhelming wave of anxiety as he saw the creature ever so slightly twitch. Just a tiny quiver in the shoulder muscles, but that was enough to tell the observer that their day had just taken a terrifying turn. He grabbed the emergency phone fixed to his desk and practically screamed into the receiver that 106 is moving.
So if there's no eyes on him... Okay, here's another thing. That thing should do a subathon. Hear me out, hear me out. The entire world could watch him. There's no freaking way, if he live streams 24/7, that he would start moving. The answer, as always, is become a VTuber.
They need a tactical team stat, but it was already too late. He and the other 2 observers stared into the monitors with their mouths agape as
He's
a
about
gooey
to Arby's
rust-like
them.
substance began to pool around the creature on the floor of its cell. Slowly, the creature craned its withered neck around. Its face was fixed into a broad, yellow-toothed, lipless grin. Its eyes had the kind of dull, flat malice of an underwater predator. It looked directly into the camera, directly at them, and smiled. The observers knew this was bad.
Sleep studies
really,
suck?
really bad.
Not
With
pee,
what they
Sand, not pee! Sleep studies do suck.
It could have sworn was a little nod. The old man began sinking into the rusty puddle it made on the ground beneath it, until it had disappeared entirely. SCP-106 is capable of phasing through any solid surface with ease, making it one of the hardest entities to reliably contain.
Yeah, bro,
and
rob a
earning it
bank
spot
like
on the
that. There's
dreaded
better
Peter
things to
class,
do.
reserved for the anomalies that are complete nightmares to keep locked up. Through the years of costly research and deadly trial and error, the Foundation would later devise ways of at least slowing the creature down. It's shown to have an aversion to lead, highly complex or random physical structures, and intense bright light.
Well, so the answer really is just put him in a British home from the 1950s and he'll never escape. Pumpkin juice? What is he gonna do with the money? Yeah, you should steal some gold doubloons instead. Light in asbestos? A British staple.
None of these cause harm to the creature, as far as we know.
Dang
Literally
it.
nothing can. But they'll at least buy you some precious extra seconds with which to at least try and escape. Seconds the three observers didn't
Always
have.
carry a flashlight.
One of them grabbed an emergency line again and barked into it that they had lost visual on the anomaly.
Oh,
Just
God.
then, the observers heard a faint crackling sound behind them and the hissing of a chemical burn. They turned
Oh,
in horror to
it's
see a huge
Jova.
rusty burn mark expanding across the wall, right next to the door, which was their
Dun, dun,
only
dun, dun,
escape
dun,
route.
dun, dun,
They
dun, dun,
backed
dun,
as
dun, dun.
far away from the door as they could as a rotten hand
Here
began
is
reaching
Grandpa.
out of the mass of corrosive black sludge, followed by the grinning face of SCP-106, ready to have some fun. Meanwhile, two heavily armed security
Saving his
officers,
son.
Agents
You
Goodwin
gotta
and
save him.
Resnick, came charging down the corridor toward the observation rooms. It became a bleak slogan during SCP-106 escape attempts that all you need to do is follow the screams. And that motto was proven true that night, because awful things were happening to the observation personnel. They were certainly screaming about it. Of course, even with the top-of-the-line firearms, there was little they could do to harm the rampaging old man. He seemed immune to all
is
forms of
crazy.
physical damage. All they could hope to do was keep the thing distracted
they all
until the
bulletproof?
scientists and containment specialists finished the preparations to lure him back into his containment cell.
Lights and horror
Goodwin
games,
surged forward while Resnick covered his six. Vigilance was key, as unlike a standard human combatant, SCP-106 could attack from literally any angle, including above or below. Physical obstacles were irrelevant to him, and no cover was safe. The hardened
goob.
security officers could see the burn mark on the wall of the observation room as they approached. SCP-106 was perpetually coated in a thick black mucus with powerful corrosive properties that left any surfaces it touched permanently marred. Foundation scientists speculated that this mucus served as a kind of pre-digestive substance that tenderizes meat and bone alike. But to what purpose this serves is a mystery, as the old man has never been observed eating. It's postulated that the only purpose is causing additional pain. Goodwin and Resnick knew to treat this hissing slug
No wonder he's mad if you've never had a pizza before. Bro should have a pizza.
as a potential threat, as the corrosive properties would remain active for as much as 6 hours before finally fizzling out. The two officers shared a quiet nod before Goodwin breached the observation room door with a hard kick. The two of them surged inside, guns at the ready. In their time working at the Foundation, they'd seen some truly horrific sights. From the mutilation of D-class personnel, typically death row prison inmates brought in for use as SCP
There's that
guinea
peanut
pigs,
guy!
to the violence and mayhem of a containment breach. But there was nothing in their past that would ever make the horrifying sight they saw in the observation room that night feel normal. All three observers were dead. Almost nothing remained of two of them, and the third, while still intact, no longer looked human. He looked like he'd somehow been dead 100 years in the brief period that the old man had been free.
Rapid aging? Maybe?
His skin was gray and completely dried out, and his mouth was locked into a perpetual scream. It was a massacre, but there was no sign of the old man. Goodwin grabbed his radio and whispered, "This is Goodwin in Observation Room 6, requesting immediate backup. We have no idea where this thing..." But his sentence was cut off by a sudden scream from Agent Resnick. SCP Foundation security officers are as
he
tough
was
as nails, the best
above!
of the best, you might say, recruited from the top military organizations in the world. So hearing one of them scream in fright is a rare, if not impossible, occurrence. But even they were forced to yell out in fear when they looked up to see the old man standing on the ceiling, grinning down at them. Resnick raised his M4 and shot a 3-round burst at center mass. SCP-106 didn't care. Even under sustained gunfire from the two security officers, it didn't flinch. The old man simply reached down and snatched Agent Resnick from the ground like it was picking an apple from a tree. The old man held Resnick in one hand and pounded its other rotten fist into the agent's body, breaking all of his bones. Resnick screamed for his partner to help him, but there was no time. Before Goodwin could do anything, SCP-106 began receding back into another slimy burn mark on the wall. Only this time, he was taking his screaming victim with him. Agent Resnick gave one more horrified scream before he was pulled backward into the inky darkness, leaving the room silent except for the burning hiss of the corrosive goo left behind. You
What a terrible goopy way to
might
go!
think this would be the end of it, But no. For poor Agent Resnick, the worst was yet to come. He
What
was
are
being
they?
dragged into what the SCP Foundation scientists refer to as the Old Man's Pocket Dimension, a miniature layer of reality within our own where
He's
the
doing a
malicious
JJK.
SCP is essentially a cruel, all-powerful god. According to witness reports extracted from victims who were taken to this little nightmare realm, the
There is survivors. There is survivors, Ted, so you can survive it.
dimension resembles a series of twisting, endless corridors where the old man stalks and tortures his captured victims to the breaking point, manipulating space and time to his own sadistic ends.
The
On rare
back
occasions,
rooms?
the SCP will even release its victims just for the joy of hunting, capturing, and torturing them all over again. While Agent Resnick was learning the true meaning of terror, containment specialists were mobilizing in its cell, preparing the one known tried and true method of luring the old man back, tempting it with the prospect of causing even more suffering. In order to do this, Foundation personnel take one of the aforementioned Class D
1% chance
personnel
that you can
and
survive?
begin inducing extreme pain by breaking a major bone or slicing a tendon every 20 minutes. The victim's agonizing
Jesus.
screams are then played over the facility's intercom, acting as bait for the pain-loving old man. The screams echo through the facility's otherwise silent halls as
Bro, what the frig? I don't know. At that point, just let him rampage. That's so terrible. Similar to the backrooms, but SCP-106 is like that on steroids. Or see if you could sink him or launch him into space for science. But he could go into his pocket dimension and then go elsewhere if he's in space, right? But can he drown? I'm putting him in that submarine from
the
earlier.
mutilated corpse of Agent Resnick falls from a new scorch mark on the ceiling. The old man can hear the sounds of suffering ringing out through the air around him, and he can barely contain his excitement over the prospect of a new plaything. The snapped femurs, the torn Achilles tendons, it was all too good to miss. Having had its twisted fun with the security officers and observers, SCP-106 wandered back to its containment cell, where a new screaming victim awaited. The other security officers, containment specialists, and scientists evacuated the area, leaving the old man alone with his prey. While the unfortunate Class D was left to his fate, the rest of the staff commenced cleanup procedures, which mainly involve wiping the brown and black mucus from the walls. It would probably be at least another month before anything like this happened again, and new personnel would be transferred over to the facility to replace the fallen. All in all, just another night at the SCP Foundation.
They all better get better insurance. Bro, what? Okay. How do you get a job there? Like, what terrible misstep did you do in your college career that you end up there? What did they do to deserve this? Every month, a femur is broken for the old man F. Can I get some respectful Fs in chat? We can jump into the next one straight away. This one is SCP-035. The Possessive Mask. I mean, usually they protect the scientists a little. So far, most of the scientists we heard about died or had to clean up goop. It's not great. Cleaning up goop sounds easy, but corrosive goop though? Ugh.
The SCP Foundation does their best to live up to their famous namesake. They secure and contain anomalies.
Wait, what is that? What is that male one that looks cute as heck? I want to pet it. It's like a crocodile with the long haircut. I would pet that guy.
All around the world, or sometimes even off-world, and protect the public from the dangers that these strange entities might pose. However,
The
despite
unkillable
their efforts to maintain
lizard!
security and keep their subjects under lock and key,
Kind of
there
medical
are sometimes
benefits.
creatures so clever, so devious.
I don't know,
and so
are they allowed
determined
to have
escape
family
their
if they work
captivity
there?
and wreak havoc on the world, that even the SCP Foundation struggles to keep them from getting free. One example
Immortal
is
lizard?
SCP-035, or the Possessive Mask.
Don't
SCP-035 is one of the most dangerous test
try to
subjects
destroy
in
reptiles?
SCP
Oh.
Foundation custody, and its mere presence at the Foundation has resulted in untold damage.
Oh, it looks like one of those old like Greek and Roman theater masks.
Death and destruction. It seems innocent enough to the untrained eye. The mask, which resembles a classic white porcelain comedy mask, though it occasionally changes its expression to tragedy, has been in existence since at least the 1800s. In the late
It's just a
19th
mask.
century,
What can possibly
the
go
Foundation
wrong?
discovered the mask in a sealed crypt beneath an abandoned home in Venice. It is unknown how it got there, or how the Foundation knew to look for it. If there was ever an explanation for its discovery, it has long since been removed or redacted from the Foundation's archives.
What?
You're probably wondering, how can a simple mask leave multiple seasoned Foundation employees dead? Well, like everything at the SCP Foundation, this mask is not what it seems. There's a reason its classification is Keter, a designation that refers to an entity that's excessively difficult to contain.
Okay, what are the different classifications they have? Because we heard a different one earlier.
And it couples this difficulty with pronounced hostility towards human life, and the ability to cause widespread destruction in the event of a containment breach. These are the qualities that the poor unfortunate souls assigned to guard SCP-035 would come to understand all too well. The possessive mask is a parasitic entity, constantly seeking out a host willing to put it on. Any human being in the mask's proximity experiences a sudden, unexplainable urge to put it on, and once they do, there's no going back. SCP Foundation research has determined that once a host has put on the mask, their brain waves are replaced with an alternative pattern, this one coming from the mask, rendering the host effectively brain dead. Once the host's brain function has been eliminated, the mask takes over, piloting their body and even speaking through them. However, the mask can only occupy a host for a small amount of time before the body begins to decay and decompose, eventually rotting away completely.
It's becoming a VTuber.
It's
the VTuber mask!
Flesh and bones where there
Order
once
class is
was a
save?
person.
Euclid?
SCP-035 is capable of possessing any humanoid being, whether that's an actual human being or a lifeless humanoid shape. Despite all their research, the SCP Foundation unknowingly gave the mask all the tools and resources it needed to break containment and leave a trail of bodies in its wake. For a time, the mask was given host privileges,
Save
meaning
Euclid
that it was
Peter,
purposely allowed to
Kuromiya?
occupy a
Oh,
host in
thank
order
you!
to speak with the scientists studying it. In order to
That's
avoid
crazy.
murky
So
ethical
4
issues,
classes?
the host was usually something inanimate like a mannequin or a statue. These conditions, however unsettling, allowed the researchers to carry out interviews with the consciousness housed inside the mask, in the hope of beginning to understand it and its motivations. However, SCP-035 lost all access to its host privileges after it almost pulled off an unprecedented, shocking, and nearly catastrophic escape attempt. In its early days at the facility, when it was still allowed host privileges, it was contained in a triple-locked room and monitored by several research personnel. These were experienced researchers who had been with the Foundation for a minimum of 5 years each, an unusually long tenure in such a dangerous and mentally corrosive line of work.
Only 5 years uptime? This is terrifying.
These research staff members were thought to be the most capable of handling interactions with the mask and be able to resist its attempts at manipulation. Unfortunately, these assumptions were naive and seriously underestimated the mask's power.
Dun 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 dun. Interested, Lulu.
The mask is incredibly intelligent and a skilled manipulator.
Sorry, you got me
again.
again, chat.
Photographic memory, intelligence that would rank it in the 99th percentile of humans, and the ability to incite dramatic changes in the behavior and people that it talks to. One particularly infamous interview between the entity and an unnamed doctor at the Foundation suggested that the mask may even possess telepathic abilities. The mask was able to give details about the doctor's life that no one else was privy to, including knowledge of an affair that his wife was having. Following the interview, the doctor suffered a psychotic break and committed suicide just 24 hours later. The mask is able to use its superior intelligence, charismatic personality, and mind-reading abilities to get inside the heads of those it speaks
Oh,
with.
that's scary!
Pull out any and all psychological stops to get what it wants, leaving broken minds and spirits in its wake. It was really only a matter of time before it used this skill set to its advantage and attempted to escape its confinement. The day of the escape attempt was like any other. The research staff, a team of 3 intelligent, experienced men, checked into the facility, measured the conditions of the mask's containment unit, and began the process of interviewing the mask like normal. Its motions were slow and looked to require great effort, as its current host was beginning to degrade beyond use.
Wait, so was it a dead body they were using? Or a mannequin? Because that's terrifying. A mask is as ruthless as 106, but with just psychological warfare?
The mask was attached to the blank face of a mannequin, and corrosive black liquid could be seen oozing from its eye and mouth holes. This liquid is excreted by the mask at a near constant rate, and it's thought to be at least partially responsible for the accelerated decay of the host bodies. In spite of the entity's unsettling, nightmarish appearance, it was just another day's work for the men assigned to monitor SCP-035, and so they carried on with their daily routine. Everything was going according to plan until one of the men, Dr. Jones, began to behave erratically. He demanded that his fellow scientists leave him alone with the mask for a while and allow him to engage in a private conversation with it. It is unknown what exactly the two spoke about while the other two scientists were absent, as the security footage captured had no sound. However, several minutes into the conversation in the footage, Dr. Jones can be seen dissolving into a fit of tears.
Just a regular Tuesday.
Laying on the ground and shaking with sobs.
Yes, tag! It's SCP lore!
He then climbs onto his knees, begging the mask for something, before he embraces it. He holds the mannequin in his arms for 5 straight minutes, weeping again, before they separate.
He just had a really good therapy session.
After this disturbing emotional
Hey, Kuromiya, how you doing? I'm doing great today! Sorry I'm so logged in.
Into the room with him. What happened next is still uncertain, but there are a few things that we know for sure. The other scientists began to speak with the mask. In later interviews, the other scientists were bordering on incoherent babbling about various traumas from their lives. One repeatedly referred to a drunk driving accident where a dear friend was killed, and he was at fault. Another simply cried out for his mother again and again. Whatever the mask said to them, it was enough to completely destroy
because of the
their mental
manipulation
health.
causes when you put it on.
After the
Oh
two
shit.
scientists had been emotionally
That would have
devastated by the
welcome in.
mask, Dr. Jones escalated the situation further. Dr. Jones removed the mask from the decaying mannequin body and, shocking everyone who had later reviewed the security footage, placed it onto his own face. Once the mask was in place, the security footage ends. At the command of the mask, which was now speaking through Dr. Jones, the other two men switched off all security camera monitoring SCP-035's containment facility.
What did it
Mask,
say we're
piloting
due to
the body of
convince
Dr.
him?
Jones like a horrible fleshy puppet, made its way through the facility, avoiding detection until it reached the exit doors, where it
But like he was clearly wearing the mask. Why would they not stop him?
was finally stopped by a team of over a dozen security guards. Knowing the dangers of touching the mask, those involved in the recontainment of
food.
SCP-035 refused to remove it from Dr. Jones' face. Instead, he was placed in the locked room with the mask still on, left alone to be observed over the security cameras until his body had decomposed beyond use.
Ugh.
His body paced back and forth in the cell for days, flesh rotting and dropping
Eggs
away
and waffles?
only until
Yeah.
sinew and bone remained. Only
Egg.
when the bones began to turn black and brittle, crumbling apart into dust, did the body finally stop moving. His family was notified. The mask was carefully removed from what was left of his
Waffles
body.
are part of Jane's
and his
personality now.
remains were
Waffles are
destroyed.
great.
The other two scientists involved in the SCP-035 escape attempt were terminated and their files destroyed. After this incident, a few
Terminated
more failed
or
escape attempts
incinerated?
and the acknowledgement of the devastation that could have been caused if the mask had made its way out into the general population, SCP-035 lost its host privileges altogether. Several research staff protested this decision, insisting that there was more to be learned from
Waffles are
speaking
part
with
of
the
Jane's
entity,
personality
and
now.
citing valuable information that it had given about other SCPs. However, the risk was determined to considerably outweigh the potential reward, and the request to reinstate 035's host privileges were denied. Several staff members went so far as to erupt into violent outbursts on 035's behalf, attacking their supervisors who refused to provide the mask with a new host, clawing at them with animalistic rage. Any staff members that submitted a request to reinstate said privileges were considered a security threat and reassigned to a different SCP, or in some cases, terminated. Any staff member who had
Incinerated.
direct contact with SCP-035 was also terminated, in order to avoid the risk of any more staff-aided escape attempts. The mask is now kept in a hermetically sealed glass case, and there is a psychologist on call to provide assistance to anyone guarding it in case of adverse effects on their mental health from the mask's presence.
Damn.
Personnel that work around the mask, even in its current dormant state, experience frequent violent outbursts and a higher rate of suicide. Even without a host, the mask's corrosive effects have spread across its containment facility.
Like the goop or the brainwave?
The
It's
walls
too
of the room have begun
charismatic.
to secrete the same black liquid that
Ew,
emanates from
just
the
put it in
mask, which tests have
concrete.
revealed to be highly contaminated human blood that damages the structural integrity of the walls following prolonged contact. This blood has begun to form patterns on the walls, spelling out words and phrases in Italian, Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit, as well as depicting drawings of ritual sacrifice and mutilation. Staff members also report hearing unintelligible whispering and horrifying high-pitched laughter when in proximity to the mask. Further exposure to the mask results in migraines, hemorrhaging around the eyes, mouth, and nose, and an eventual psychotic brain. Between the corrosive substance appearing on the walls and the physical and psychological damage to employees, SCP-035 is becoming increasingly difficult to contain, and there are debates among staff as to whether the entity can, in fact, be contained at all. As soon as possible, SCP-035 will be moved into a new containment facility, and its previous cell will be isolated from the rest of the Foundation's property and destroyed for the safety of all involved. We can only hope that the new containment procedures are more effective than the last ones, and that this mask never makes its way into the world again. If it does, who knows how many lives it will claim. In the meantime, if you ever come across a strange mask and feel a nearly uncontrollable urge to put it on, ignore the whispered pleas to just try it. Ignore the echoing laughter and the sensation of something older and more powerful than you can imagine rummaging through your deepest, darkest secret thoughts.
Okay, prank idea. No. It's too charismatic. I think this is crazy. If it got out...
and run as fast as you can in the other
But then again, it's one person at a time, right?
that you did.
So like, what would really happen if it's only one person at a time? You know? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is the IKEA one tap. Highly requested.
On March 15th, 2011, Martin Sims was wandering down the streets of Carson, California. His clothes were
it's the
ragged,
OG
he was
voiceover guy
filthy,
again.
and gibbering like a madman with a full beard and long, unkempt hair.
He just finished a subathon, and that's a normal state of being.
His body was covered in scars, but he showed no signs of malnutrition. What made Martin's sudden appearance so remarkable? He'd been missing for 3 years. When he was interviewed by police, they asked him where he'd been all this time. They couldn't believe his answer. He'd been trapped in an IKEA since 2008, but this was no ordinary IKEA. This was a dangerous anomaly that would come to be known as SCP-3008. Martin's strange answers in his interview were laughed off by his interviewing officers, who assumed he was either crazy or under the influence of something. But they caught the attention of an SCP Foundation field agent embedded in the precinct. The report was passed up the chain to a local site director who approved a detachment of Foundation field operatives to look into Martin's case. While he was reluctant to lead the Foundation agents back to
Is the mask with Jim Carrey similar? 3 years subathon impressive.
defending IKEA, the Foundation can be extremely persuasive. His screams of, "Please, I'm begging you, don't take me back, don't make me go back," were noted, but
So
ultimately
SCP's like,
disregarded.
small,
When the
look at
SCP
that, fun.
Foundation had triangulated the position of
going to IKEA.
SCP-3008, which was indeed an active IKEA, the entire retail zone was closed and barricaded under the pretense of a severe black mold infestation. Armed Foundation personnel also arrived on the site shortly after, based on Martin's vague statements that there were creatures of some kind inside. Due to his deteriorating mental health, Martin was unable to provide a great deal of lucid information on the specific traits of SCP-3008.
Well, he just made it out of IKEA. Of course he's
one phrase
traumatized.
he kept repeating was, "bigger on the inside." Once researchers were satisfied that Martin had delivered all the pertinent information he was able to, he was administered Foundation amnestics to erase his memory of the last 3 years and return to his family. A cover story was formulated. Martin had been kidnapped and abused for 3 years by a mentally unbalanced stalker in downtown Carson. He'd been able to escape as said stalker took his own life out of guilt, a suicide that the Foundation expertly fabricated to make their cover story airtight. With the loose end of Martin Sims taken care of, the true observation of SCP-3008 could begin. A base set around the perimeter of the mysterious IKEA kept a 24-hour watch on the building, covering all potential entrances and exits. No exploratory missions had yet been approved by the Foundation Ethics Committee, so they first wanted to perform a week of external observation to see if any of the store's anomalous properties extended beyond the confines of the building. After a week of nothing, it appeared they did not. A local site director approved of the use of 20 disposable Class D personnel to explore the interior of SCP-3008. The D-Class operatives would be split into 4 squads of 5 men, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta Squad. Each would be assigned a different quadrant of the store and would deliver information back to the control team on site via a live audio and video link. 3 of the 4 teams upon entering the store reported nothing out of the ordinary. Neither the audio or video they were sending back indicated anything different from a standard IKEA store, from the flat-pack wardrobes to the Swedish meatballs. Team Delta, however, suddenly began experiencing a scrambled audio and video connection. Shortly after, communication with Team Delta dropped off entirely. They disappeared somewhere inside the store and haven't been seen since. with one notable exception. After the disappearance and the extraction of teams, Foundation researchers classified SCP-3000...
Wait, so some of them got out, but not all of them? You can live here without paying taxes? You could live in this IKEA pocket dimension forever. They'd have meatballs. I'd get a little tired of the meatballs, but if the Wi-Fi is good, chat, listen.
As you
Never gonna run out of furniture.
Its anomalous properties were at least confined to the interior of the store, and even then,
I wonder if there's a game about
the
this
entire interior. The anomalous area within SCP-3008 became known as SCP-3008-1, and containment appeared to be 100% secure. There was no telling how many people had already gone missing in the store over the years, but the disappearances must be stopped. The Foundation maintained constant surveillance around the perimeter of SCP-3008, but it appeared they could prevent any further incidents by simply preventing other civilians from accessing the IKEA store.
Wi-Fi?
Martin's ravings about monsters were assumed to just be the product of delirium, until a surviving member of Delta Team suddenly reappeared. The date was November 3rd, 2011. It was a cold night, a few hours after what would have been closing time if the store were still active, and 7 months after the extraction teams had disappeared somewhere in the confines of SCP-3008. There had been no anomalous activity outside the store since the perimeter was first secured, and the Foundation researchers hadn't expected that to change.
Like that Malcolm in the Middle
surviving
episode.
member of Delta Team came barging out of the store's entrance. Startled field operatives were amazed to see him again, but they were even more amazed to see what was following him out of the store, repeating the same phrase: "The store is now closed, please exit the building." Despite the fact that the entity chasing the Delta Team survivor was wearing the yellow shirt and blue pants of an IKEA store employee, the being definitely was not human. It was around 7 feet tall with no visible face. The entity
Hey now, some of us are 7 feet tall. Don't be rude about it.
had grossly extended limbs, with each arm
Had a
being
version
around
of the
5 or 6
backrooms?
feet long and ending in a huge
Is the backrooms
oversized
also
hand.
an
The
SCP?
whole process was so sudden that the field agents present at the perimeter weren't able to save the Delta Team survivor, as the entity reached forward with his freakishly long arms, grabbed him, and twisted his head off like a child with a doll. The field operatives present drew their weapons and peppered the entity with bullets. It would later be classified as SCP-3008-2. The being appeared to collapse and die from the physical trauma, at which point it and the body of the former Delta Team survivor were taken for an autopsy by Foundation researchers. There were no biological abnormalities of the body of the Delta Team survivor, so it did not appear that the anomalous properties of SCP-3008-1 had any effect on the physiology of its occupants.
That's so sweet.
He was not malnourished despite being missing
not
for
calming
months,
at all.
and the contents of his stomach looked to be half-digested food consistent with the menu of a typical IKEA store restaurant.
It's in the meatballs. But you have a face? Do I, Toasties? Has anyone ever seen my face? Dun 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 dun. Backrooms has its own canon. They are not in the same fictional universe. Oh, okay. I thought they were similar.
SCP-3008-2, on the other hand, raised a number of perplexing biological questions.
His
The
insides
autopsy
are
revealed that
wood
the
shaving.
creature's clothes were actually part of its body, like an additional layer of
Ooh.
skin. The creature lacked blood or any kind of vascular system. Even stranger, the entity didn't appear to have bones or internal organs, not even a brain or nervous system. It was a being made entirely of skin all the way to its core. How it was able to move, or even live for that matter, remains a mystery. Though when you work for the SCP Foundation, you learn to accept that some things will always remain unexplained.
SCP confirmed.
One thing was certain though, Martin Sims was
The
right
meatballs
about
are
his
somehow
monsters.
normal.
After the incident with Delta Team, the Foundation deemed that sending manned explorations into the heart of SCP-3008 was too much of a liability, and planned a series of drone-based reconnaissance missions into the anomaly. The first of these drones experienced connection issues and failed when attempting to venture into the IKEA's anomalous zone. However, after a lengthy period of trial and error, the Foundation was able to establish a more secure connection with its drones, even when deep into the SCP-3008-1 anomalous zone. It was only then that some of the most extraordinary discoveries were made. SCP-3008-1 seemed to break the laws of spatial reality, as the area of the IKEA's interior was at least an order of magnitude larger than its exterior. Just as Martin Sims had said, it was bigger on the inside, but just how much bigger? The Foundation has yet to find evidence of any physical terminators within the store that might indicate SCP-3008-1 has an end point, while an area of at least 10 kilometers squared has been uncovered in SCP-3008-1. It could, in theory, be infinite. Laser rangefinder tests, which are normally very reliable, have only given inconclusive results. Interestingly, the anomalous area doesn't have any clear visual differences from the rest of the IKEA store, except that it extends forever. An individual trapped within the confines of SCP-3008-1 wouldn't even realize they've entered an anomalous zone until they tried to locate an exit and leave, at which point they'd find they were already hopelessly lost. The geography of SCP-3008-1 does at least appear to be consistent, so people trapped within are theoretically able to retrace their steps and escape if they haven't already ventured too deep. According to data collected during the drone reconnaissance missions, SCP-3008-2, of which there appear to be a vast population, would wander the stores aimlessly during the day. They are unresponsive to the drone's presence and did not appear to be aggressive. While the physical descriptions of these creatures could vary slightly, they all follow the same overall trend. Clothes consistent with an IKEA uniform, no face, either seemingly too tall or too short, and limbs that are grossly out of proportion with their bodies. As the Foundation began sending drones deeper into SCP-3008-1, they found another incredible discovery. There was an unknown population of humans trapped inside IKEA's anomalous zone, and these people had used the IKEA furniture around them to create entire settlements and towns within the store. There were several of these towns, all of which seemed to cohabitate peacefully. Even Foundation personnel found this development in their research to be truly extraordinary. Since SCP-3008 was first identified, there have been only 14 civilian escapes. Some had been trapped inside for months, others had been in there for years, some far longer than Martin's 3-year stint. While every one of these escapees has eventually been released back to their home, after a liberal application of amnestics and a proper cover story has been devised, the Foundation interviewed each of them extensively first. According to each of these escapees, the people trapped inside the IKEA have built an entirely new society across the various settlements. Contrary to the Lord of the Flies expectations of a group of people isolated and afraid, there's immense cooperation between the trapped civilians. The food in the several IKEA restaurants in SCP-3008-1 mysteriously replenishes while nobody's there, so there's no threat of starving. And the automatic turning on and off of the lights forms as a rudimentary kind of day and night cycle. Nighttime, however, is when things get dangerous, as the SCP-3008-2 entities, which are known to the people inside as the staff, become extremely hostile after dark. Aggressive hordes of the staff swarm the settlements at night, repeating, "This door is now closed, please exit the building." The civilians inside are usually able to repel these attacks with minimal casualties, but the constant war of attrition slowly wears down those inside. The bodies of the creatures also need to be removed from the area after each attack, as the presence of corpses or even parts of corpses has been known to heighten the ferocity of the next night's attack. During the day, the staff return to a docile and unresponsive state, though they'll still defend themselves
strumming in the background. No.
If anyone dares to attack. Over the course of the interviews with the 14 escapees, Foundation researchers were able to answer another of their key questions. How had so many people gone missing in the store for so long without being noticed? But the answer they received only raised many more unsettling queries. According to the escapees, there were people inside the settlements that, despite being otherwise of entirely sound mind and standard intelligence, seemed to lack very common knowledge that even a child should know. For example, some of them weren't aware of the International Space Station orbiting the Earth, or stranger still, the existence of the Statue of Liberty. This led the researchers to a frightening conclusion. SCP-3008-1 may not only be a nexus point of multiple IKEA stores in our dimension, it could be connected to IKEAs in every dimension where IKEAs exist.
So if I get lost in the IKEA in this dimension, there may also be a dumb Lulu that got lost in the IKEA in the other dimension.
While it abducts a handful of people from each store over an extended period of time, it suddenly becomes clear how this SCP was able to trap so many people without detection over such a long period of time, which in turn led to an even more terrifying revelation. The SCP Foundation may not have SCP-3008-1 as contained as they thought. It might even be tucked away in an IKEA store somewhere near you, just waiting for you to visit. After all, there's always room for one more.
Dun dun dun! Okay, that's terrifying. That is scary. So next one's our last one for today, and it's the Old Man Part 2.
Even by the standards of other famous violent anomalies, SCP-106, better known as the Old
Wait. Old Man origin theories.
Man is a complete monster. Consider this. SCP-096, the Shy Guy, is a mindless beast that kills out of pure instinct when people see its face. SCP-049, the Plague Doctor, kills by accident with his deadly touch while trying to help. Even SCP-682 seems to kill because the burning hatred for all life that resides inside it is impossible to suppress.
Oh, it's that cute lizard from earlier! Chad, do you think he's petable? Do you think he's soft?
But SCP-106 doesn't kill out of hatred. He kills out of love. And what he loves more than anything else is inflicting pain, misery, and terror just for the fun of it. In case you haven't seen our video on the subject, SCP-106 is an invincible, sadistic old man whose anomalous abilities allow him to walk through solid surfaces. As a result, he's incredibly hard to contain, making him one of the scarier Keter-class anomalies in SCP Foundation containment. And it's almost impossible to escape if you end up on his hit list. But his scariest ability of all is dragging people into his pocket dimension, a private hell where he controls both space and time, and can do awful things to his captured victims to his heart's content. SCP-106 is downright evil, and he couldn't be happier about it. You might assume that there are no hidden depths to be plumbed when it comes to the straightforwardly violent monster, but certain SCP Foundation discoveries about the infamous old man may surprise you. Meet SCP-978, the Desire Camera. This anomalous Polaroid camera has the remarkable ability to reveal the deepest desire of its subject, and the Foundation tested the camera.
Don't take a picture of me. Sleepy alligator lizard thing was only friendly towards kids? That's it? So I can't be friends with him? What if I was short?
On several employees and anomalies, including SCP-106. Now, you might have expected SCP-106's greatest desire to be causing more pain, his favorite activity. But the researchers were shocked to find out that wasn't the case at all. The actual result, according to test logs, was, quote, SCP-106 roaming a wheat field, appears to be approaching an old farmhouse, while a woman appearing to be in her mid-60s welcomes 106. It turns out that even a creature of pure malice like SCP-106 may have some hidden secrets after all. A prospect that greatly intrigued Foundation researchers. While an obscene amount of work had gone into containing the old man and subverting his powerful anomalous abilities, comparatively little work had gone into his origins. And while the Foundation actually started digging, they were surprised to find that the rabbit hole was far, far deeper than they'd ever imagined. Much like the Joker, the old man's origin story is multiple choice. Out of the reams of research into SCP-106's origin, we've narrowed it down to the three most plausible possibilities for how a creature like the old man could come to exist. The divergent species theory, the Scranton theory, and the Corporal Lawrence theory.
Please explain.
And today we're going to explore all of them.
Oh, hell yeah, thank you.
Let's look at the divergent species theory. The main basis for this theory is information gleaned from a tale known as Once But Not Now. This tale is seen as a collection of memories from the atrophied mind of the old man, detailing his origins thousands of years prior. It's worth remembering that a lot of these memories are, of course, highly subjective and interpretive. If they are to be taken as the authentic memories of the old man, then it is also important to note that, as a deranged, compulsive sadist, details of his memories are possibly unreliable. That being said, according to the reports contained within Once But Not Now, the old man was once a member of a hominoid family similar to that of humans.
Oh, so like they just evolutioned into different directions?
Displaying the anomalous powers we've come to expect from SCP-106.
Yo, the old man wife.
Corrosive mucus, and the ability to pass through solid objects. In the documents, it is implied that the primary source of prey for the old man's species was actually Neanderthals. They had basic tribal cultures that allowed them to organize hunting parties for the purpose of bringing food back to their camps. They even had a semblance of socially enforced laws, leaving members of their tribe to starve after they committed murder against their own species. If things had played out differently, this species may have stuck around, perhaps even surpassing humanity.
I was gonna say, if we're the food source?
An entire thriving culture of SCP-106. However, as time passed, the Neanderthals were eventually hounded to extinction. This destroyed the primary food source for SCP-106's species, which, if you even have a basic familiarity with evolutionary biology, never bodes well for a species. As the old man's species turned its attention to humanity, It
Old man
found they
species.
weren't nearly as easy to prey upon. As a result, their species slowly fell into decline and eventually slipped into near extinction. The old man, most likely the last of his kind, went into a state of hibernation within a tree. He remained in the tree for what may have been thousands of years
Good nap
before
time.
eventually climbing out into a world that had long since forgotten anything like him had ever existed. The old man woke up into a strange new world, filled with alien structures and garish lights. He wandered, confused and hungry, haunted by the knowledge that he was the last one left of his kind.
Why can't they just feed him Arby's? Like, why can't they just go and be like, hey, have you seen the... It's 100% people, trust me.
He wandered around the new world until he found what he described as a nest, likely just a normal human home. He became distressed by the structures and lights around him, until finally happening upon a food source that he hungrily ate. This food source turned out to be a human infant. Not long after that, he was apprehended by figures described as the men in white coats, who are likely to be agents of the SCP Foundation. He was contained not long after that. These days, his only motivating factor is the search for pain and anguish, the only things that can give this very, very old man any semblance of feelings anymore. Of course, this is actually the least popular of the three theories.
Really? The other species from the food chain above us is the least popular one?
Question. If ever there was a whole species of SCP-106, is it really possible that our species would be able to outlast them? The second most popular theory was that SCP-106 was not only once human, but an extremely important Foundation researcher, namely Dr. Robert Scranton. If that name sounds familiar to you, it may be because you've heard of the famous Scranton reality anchors. These devices, inspired by Scranton, have been the Foundation's greatest tools in combating the anomalous effects of reality warpers. And if the Scranton theory about the origin of 106 is to be believed,
Throw a bunch of these in the
it's
IKEA.
darkly ironic that it would be a reality warping anomaly that would bring Dr. Scranton to his unfortunate end. The horrors began on January 2nd in the year 2000, when Dr. Scranton and his wife, Dr. Anna Lang, were testing a new technology, the Lang-Scranton Stabilizer. This was the technology that would lay the groundwork for the reality anchors that would later be created in Scranton's name. However, the stabilizer was ironically anything but stable, and caused what is known as a momentary Class C broken entry wormhole. Scranton was sucked into the wormhole and transported to a pocket dimension known as SCP-3001, or the Red Reality. Many people assumed Scranton was dead, but the reality was far more horrific. SCP-3001, which the still-living Scranton and the control pad of the stabilizer were sucked into, was a kind of empty, infinitely extending void. The laws of reality did not apply in the darkened void of 3001. There was no space, no light, no passage of time. It was the absence of all existence.
Okay, hear me out. You'd stay young forever. You'd never age. Sign me up.
Scranton,
I want to nap in there.
The one speck of existence trapped inside. As whatever passed for time went on, Scranton could only speak into a small audio recorder embedded in the console. It became his only company, the only thing anchoring him to some semblance of sanity. But of course, that couldn't last forever. As he came to terms with the reality of his situation, Dr. Scranton became overtaken by fear, and then despair. He started to lose hope that he would ever exit the pocket dimension of SCP-3001, and his coherent speech became terrified, disconnected ramblings as his mind fell apart. He tried to end his life 184 times while trapped there, but it never worked. He took the damage of each attempt, slowly becoming unrecognizable, but there was no death to grant him escape from SCP-3001. As time went on, the very state of reality within the Red Reality began to decay. Matter started to become antimatter, and Robert Scranton felt himself coming apart at the seams and floating into nothingness. He was still conscious and very much aware of his personality, perhaps even his very soul, fractured and drifted away with his body.
That's scary as heck.
In total, he spent almost 6 years inside the broken pocket dimension, though this probably felt like an eternity to him. Eventually, even the console vanished from the Red Reality.
Okay, here's the thing. There's no food, no water, no need to do any of that, right? But what if you gotta pee when you go in the pocket dimension? Do you have to pee forever?
And return back to our own, leaving whatever was left of Robert Scranton truly alone. Those who loved him prefer to believe that he's now as close to dead as possible within SCP-3001. But people who believe in the Scranton theory have different ideas. Dr. Robert Scranton, or rather whatever he became, was headstrong. He wanted to escape the red reality at any cost so he could be reunited with his wife, Dr. Anna Lang. Through sheer force of willpower, Dr. Scranton pulled his disparate matter back together, but it didn't come back in the way it used to be. There was something wrong, terribly wrong. He was now something less than human. SCP-106.
Oh,
Scranton,
God.
a man who'd spent his life developing technology to keep reality consistent, was about to build his own reality. He would build, destroy, and rebuild again and again. He would create a perfect reality for him and his beloved Anna, which would later become his trademark pocket dimension. But when Anna saw the monster he'd become, she was horrified by him. His very touch destroyed her, his corrosive mucus melting her away. All was left was the monster he'd become, the old man, SCP-106. Of course, there's one more theory about the origin of SCP-106.
Oh, that's terrifying.
If you've ever heard the wall-walking monster referred to as Uncle Larry, this next story is why. In fact, it's the most widely believed of all the SCP-106 origin theories.
Say
The
hi.
Corporal
Welcome in.
Lawrence theory. So who is Corporal Lawrence? We actually know very little about the man, aside from the fact he was a military officer during World War I. Our knowledge of him comes from first-hand accounts of the soldiers serving under him in the trenches. The corporal was described as a plain, aloof, and vacant man, with a tendency to stare. Many of the soldiers disliked him on account of his incredibly flat personality.
With strong
but
eye
perhaps even more
contact.
so, because Lawrence always seemed to be followed around by the smell of rot.
Ooh.
Strange incident.
Okay, hear me out, chat. Some people have bad choices in perfume, and we should not just them. Just them? Injustice them. Judge
It's
them.
also
Yeah,
seemed to
English is
follow
hard.
him around, like soldiers in his barracks seeing greater numbers of sicknesses like trench foot. It was almost
Ooh.
as if he was cursed, and perhaps he was.
Liliana mentioned.
One fateful day, Lawrence and his men needed to raid an enemy trench. They infiltrated the trench and found that everyone there was dead and covered in a corrosive black slime. Worse still, Corporal Lawrence discovered a strange black hole in the trench filled with the same black substance.
Oh, ew!
He then collapsed
What
into this
up?
hole
Welcome in!
before climbing out, clearly shaken by the experience. After that, everything went downhill. Corporal
no.
Lawrence appeared to completely change his personality, becoming a perpetually grinning eccentric with a head full of strangely morbid and sadistic thoughts.
Well, he also
At a
watched
certain
all them
point, his
people
body
die.
seemed to reproduce the same corrosive mucus he fell into, causing pain and sickness to his fellow soldiers wherever he went. In the end, after the horrific deaths of some of the soldiers working under him, Corporal Lawrence and his men were apprehended and interred at a military hospital. Not long after, though, he disappeared along with the rest of his men. The only trace that remained was on the former Corporal Lawrence's hospital bed, traces of the corrosive black mucus and a ring of human teeth, pulled from the heads of every single person on the ward. The next time he was seen,
Maybe he was just a dentist. Maybe he was just a dentist. Maybe he was just a
Corporal Lawrence
dentist.
truly was no more. Only SCP-106 remained, and in his own sick little way, he'd never been happier. And there you have it, the 3 most popular theories into the origin of SCP-106. Which, if any, do you think is the most likely theory, or do you have one of your own? Let us know down in the comments. And remember, keep an eye on the walls. You never know when the old man will drop in.
Oh no, why did it spawn right
Now
behind
check out
me?
SCP-106, the old man escaped.
Why did
and
it spawn right behind me? Bro, no! Now I'm scared. I had never heard of any of these, apart from the IKEA. That was the first. Holy shit. That's some extensive lore. Why do I hear boss music? Dun 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 dun. I'm very tall. It's that 6'6" appearance. Thank you for joining me for this one, chat. This was really, really, really fun. If you too have a recommendation for SCP videos, spooky videos, ghost hunting videos, or even your own spooky videos, please leave them in the Discord server in the description below. I will see you guys in the next one on Sunday. Mwah.